guys, welcome back to the US Relations series, and today we'll be going over the relationship that the United States holds with the Eastern European country of Albania. Albania is one of the more recent countries to establish full relations with the United States, with relations being re-established in 1991. However, despite relations not being resettled until recently, the two nations have actually had a history with one another for around 2 centuries. As early as the mid-19th century, we start to see a spike in US-Albanian relations when we see massive amounts of Albanian immigrants coming into the United States, mainly through the city of Boston. However, at this time, Albania was still under Ottoman Empire rule and wasn't its own state yet. Albania eventually did gain independence from the Ottomans in 1912. Shortly after its independence, many European powers discussed how they would partition Albania, while US President Woodrow Wilson fully supported Albanian independence and said himself that Albania ought to be independent. Albanian officials then gave a heartfelt thanks to Wilson for his defense of Albanian independence. Albania joined the League of Nations in 1920, and full bilateral ties to the United States were established in 1922. The two remained pretty close for a while and even had a few bilateral treaties with one another. Then World War II came along and things got a little shaky once Italy showed up. Not long after the Italian invasion, the US then cut ties with Albania in 1939. Once the US did enter the war in Europe, they did try their best to help Albania against its occupiers, but this was however very hard due to the lack of US military influence in the Balkans region of Europe. In 1942, Albania was liberated by Soviet, British, and American military. After Albania's liberation, they adopted a new communist government. This was contributed by communist guerrilla groups fighting off their German occupiers, and the influence from massive amounts of Soviet presence after liberation. The new communist government was surprisingly approved by the United States due to Albania's democratic principles and appreciation for human rights. Albanian leader at the time, Enver Hoxha, started to grow closer with the USSR and China. This made relations between them and the United States worse than it already was. Ties between the two stayed relatively bleak until the late 80s. Towards the end of the Cold War, we do however see the two nations start to communicate on a more regular basis. Ties between the two were fully re-established in 1990, but there was still a communist party leading the government. The United States then started to support opposition parties within Albania to further support democratization. This proved to be effective in 1992 with the Albanian elections, in which Sali Berisha was the first non-communist president to be elected in Albania since the end of World War II, then ending the last communist-dominated country in Europe as well. Today, the two nations still maintain a strong relationship with one another. They both have embassies within each other's capitals, and are both signatories of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. With both of these nations being a part of NATO, their militaries have fought alongside one another in countries such as Afghanistan, Libya, and Syria. Other than just military and governmental ties, it's truly the people that make this a strong relationship. Even though the relations between the two have been up and down throughout the Cold War, the Albanian people still hold a strong favorability towards the United States, with over 80% of its population having a positive view of them. This is due to the US supporting Albanian independence and opposed European partition of the country after World War I. Albania also credits the US with helping Kosovar Albanian people in the Serbian and Yugoslav War of the 90s. Without a doubt, these two nations are some of each other's top allies. Getting along both governmentally and internally further strengthens these two's relationship. With the two having such a positive view of one another, it's likely that their friendship isn't going to change anytime soon. Thank you for watching the US Relations series. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned next week for US Indoor Relations. See you guys soon.